Please start.
Good morning to everyone. I, Rinkal Chaudhary, Assistant Professor from the Department of Pharmaceutics, welcome you all on the fifth day of this National Level Online Faculty Development Program, organized by Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy in collaboration with GTU, the Gujarat Technological University. The theme of this program is Smart Research for the Digital Age, Mastering Grant Proposal, High Impact Scopus Publishing, Patent and AI-driven excellence in incredible relevant in today's fast evolving academic environment. The previous day session were truly insightful. We had the privilege of hearing from Dr. Vijay Sivpuje sir, who delivered an excellent session on the topic of the importance of patent in transforming innovation from lab to market. His detailed and thoughtful presentation set a high standard for the days to come. Today, we have another exciting and informative schedule lineup designed to enhance your research capability, review knowledge, and industry collaboration skills. We are honored to have Dr. K.S. Sowmiya Rani ma'am with us today, and we look forward to gaining valuable insights from her expertise. Let's build on the momentum from yesterday, actively engage in today's session, and use this opportunity to grow, connect, and enrich our academic journeys together. Thank you so much, everyone, and let's look forward to another inspiring and productive day ahead. So now I would welcome to our Assistant Professor Dr. Anu Sharma ma'am, Department of Pharmaceutics, to introduce our guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rinkal ma'am. A warm welcome to all our present here. I heartily welcome Dr. Sowmiya Rani, a distinguished expert in scientific writing, publishing, and innovation application of AI tools in research. Dr. Rani holds a PhD degree in biotechnology and has been sought after editor, speaker, and a trainer for over 6 years. Her contributions have earned her recognition as one of the top LinkedIn creator on AI tools for research, a testament to her profound impact in this field. Dr. Rani's expertise has reached audience at more than 100 prestigious institutions including IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, NIT Warangal, NIT Delhi, VIT, Sharda University in Uzbekistan, and Zayed University in United Arab Emirates, UAE. She has also engaged diverse audiences spanning medical, engineering, social sciences, arts, law, and management in the industrial section. Her insightful lectures focus on leveraging AI for scientific publishing, enhancing teaching pedagogies, and advancing healthcare solutions. Notably, Dr. Rani's flagship 10-day online workshops held biannually are highly anticipated by researchers worldwide. A recipient of prestigious fellowships such as CSIR, JRF, DBT JRF, and JNCSR Summer Research Fellowship, and the DAD Scholarship. She completed a part of her PhD in Germany. Dr. Rani is a prolific editor with over 1,500 scientific documents defined under her guidance and the founder of startup Sowmiya Rani, which empower researchers by providing services such as proofreading, rewriting, and formatting for better manuscript quality. Today, we are very honored to have Dr. Sowmiya Rani to share her invaluable insights on harnessing AI ethically for scientific writing, publishing, and improving teaching pedagogy. So I heartily welcome Dr. Sowmiya Rani to give her space to our audience. Thank you, ma'am. And welcome,
thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anu, for the warm welcome, and thank you, Dr. Samresh and team for having me here.
Welcome,
Thank you. So let me start by sharing my screen. So, I hope, let me just push through all of these. Okay. So good morning. And considering this is a Friday, we have close to 200 members on the audience. That is a good turnout, I would say, a good 30% of the total registrations. heartwarming to see that. So let's start with a very simple question. How many of you here on the call today recognize the face that you see on the screen? You are supposed to, because this happens to be the face of one of my favorite actors ever. If you are a Marvel fan like me, you would know him as Doctor Strange. If you are more of a movie buff, you would also recognize the face as that of Sherlock Holmes in one of the best adapted versions of the movie. This guy in real life, Benedict Cumberbatch, went on to do yet another amazing project called The Imitation Game. So this is a movie that is set in the World War times, World War II to be precise. Okay, someone should mute yourself, I believe. So World War II was a time when the Nazis, the Germans, had an upper hand and they were clearly winning the war. One of the reasons why they could not be defeated was because they had a very elegant encryption machine called Enigma. Today, anytime you add a new contact on your WhatsApp, what is the first message that pops up on your WhatsApp window? It says that the messages you're going to send to this person are encrypted end to end, which means the sender and the receiver can read the messages. Nobody else can intercept the messages between. Now, this is a technology that has been given to us, a huge privilege, I would say, but this privilege was reserved only for military communications back in the World War II days. It is at this juncture that when the English and the Allies were literally breaking their heads to find a way to break the code of Enigma, a very brilliant English mathematician by the name of Alan Turing walks into the war scene. He and his team go on to break the code of Enigma, and this happens to be one of the key events that brought the Nazis to their knees and kind of brought the World War II to an end. Now, why exactly am I here talking about my favorite movies, world wars, and mathematical geniuses, when the goal of today's session is to be talking about this brand new technology called AI in research writing and in higher ed as well? This is simply to drive home the fact that Alan Turing here was not just a mathematical genius. He was also a computer nerd, and he is considered as one of the founding fathers of artificial intelligence, which just goes to show that artificial intelligence is not something new. The technology and the terminology has existed for more than 6 decades. Just that you and I, the so-called common man, we were not talking about artificial intelligence on every second conversation we have. Just look back 3 years ago, take back all the FDP brochures we used to have. We were not talking about AI on every second FDP. But today, any workshop, any FDP has AI as a huge part of it. That's how popular it has become, thanks to this phenomenon called ChatGPT, which was unleashed on us in November 2022 by OpenAI. So why were we all so excited about this particular technology? It is because unlike the search engines that we had up until now, I'm not talking about the AI supercharged Google we have now. Look back and imagine the Google we had 2.5, 3 years ago, where when you ask a question, when you give a set of keywords, this tool searches through the entire data set and comes back with 10,000 results or even more sometimes. The onus was on you to go through all of these results and find the answers that you were looking for. This is what ChatGPT disrupted more than anything else. When these Gen AI tools, when I say ChatGPT, I'm not just talking about ChatGPT. I'm talking about ChatGPT. I'm talking about Claude. I'm talking about Copilot. I'm talking about every other Gen AI that you can name and imagine. So these tools made it very easy for us to access information, and that is what captured our imaginations more than anything else. So the last part of 2024, somewhere after the middle of July or so, there was a new revolution in the AI technology, the general purpose AI technology, when OpenAI released what are known as the O series models, ChatGPT O1, OpenAI O1, however you want to call them. So these models, they could think much deeper. They could bring information that is more comprehensive, and these were touted to be as intelligent as a PhD level scholar or a PhD level human being. And this made a lot of rounds on social media, on LinkedIn and whatnot. But what several of these experts failed to mention is that no matter how good the system right now is, how good the AI claimed to be, it still has certain underlying flaws. And one of the flaws is that these AI tools, even these PhD level AI tools, they undergo hallucinations. They are still biased. They can still not really think for themselves. It is in this backdrop that yet another disruption happened in January 2025 called DeepSeek. Not exactly DeepSeek, because DeepSeek has been around for quite a number of years, but this particular model called DeepSeek R1 was open to the world in Jan 2025, and it became so popular that within the first week, it was the topmost downloaded app in the US. Even in India, it was the number 4 on the tools that are designed for productivity. And the Silicon Valley was shook so badly that NVIDIA shares came down by 17%. Now, add to this the election of Trump, the unusual rise of power of Elon Musk, and then this new AI coming from China, and the political policies of China. So all of this together make it a very interesting mix for anyone who is trying to follow the trend of AI in 2025. We really have to wait and see how this goes. But one good thing to notice is that the center of power is no longer now concentrated in the Silicon Valley in the hands of the US, with China rising to the competition, and India definitely is doing a lot to develop some in-house technologies as well. Now, no matter what of these technologies we are talking about, we still have to give the right instructions for these tools to work properly. So the instructions that we give to these AI tools, they are called prompts. Now just imagine I open my Google with AI, without AI, and then I start typing Apple. What are the top results that I might get? Will Google bring me information about the best apples in India and elsewhere? Or will it start talking about Steve Jobs, the company Apple, the iPod, the iMac, and what? So which Apple am I mentioning? How does Google know which Apple I'm talking about? Google does not know by default. It could be a tall glass of apple juice that I'm interested in, or it could be the story of Steve Jobs and how the company developed that I'm interested in. Unless I add additional defining keywords, Google cannot know what I'm thinking or what I have in my head. Similarly, these AI tools, if you don't give them the context, they cannot give you the right answer. If possible, I'll show you an example at a later part during the session. So for a prompt to really work, it should at least have these basic components. Set the context, give the task, explain it step by step, one instruction after the other, clarify and refine the prompt as and when necessary. Never expect that an AI tool will give you the correct answer at the first go. It is too much to expect even when the higher order AI tools. So how can I design an effective prompt? To give an example, say for instance, I'm talking about photosynthesis. And I just go ask ChatGPT what is photosynthesis. Now, ChatGPT is going to give me a nice definition of photosynthesis with the equation 6CO2, 6H2O, all that, blah, 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 everything. Okay. This is a great answer if I'm trying to refresh my memory about photosynthesis. But what if I'm a school teacher trying to teach photosynthesis to my grade 6 school students? Now, this answer that ChatGPT gave me is almost useless to me because my grade 6 students don't understand CO2, H2O. They have not yet learned what chemical formulae mean, which means the information from ChatGPT cannot be used as such. Why did ChatGPT do this to me? The problem is not with ChatGPT. The problem is with me, who did not mention that I am a grade 6 teacher trying to teach this topic to grade 6 students. If I had given a prompt that sounded something like this, okay, imagine that you are a grade 6 school teacher. You're trying to teach biology to CBSE children, and you have to explain photosynthesis in terms that they can understand. Give me analogies, examples, homeworks, assignments that these kids can enjoy and have an experiential learning experience. So if I were to expand on my prompt and give all these details, now ChatGPT understands the job better, and it'll give me a much better content that would be usable as it is in my classrooms. The same analogy can be applied to researchers as well. So if you want to know about photosynthesis as a researcher, say for instance, you are a researcher in photosynthesis trying to present the latest findings in the field to your fellow researchers on a conference talk. Say you are giving a keynote address. Unless you tell ChatGPT that this is a keynote address, this is the theme of the conference session, these are your target audience, this is how you want your content to sound like, ChatGPT will not know how to design your talk. But if you give all the information, even a very simple tool like ChatGPT that is freely available can be made to do higher order jobs like research writing or writing a public speaking assignment, provided you know how to engineer the prompts. So your prompts are basically flags that guide tools like ChatGPT to find the right information and present it in the right way. So at the front end, all of these Gen AI tools are chatbots, where you say something and then the tool says something, you keep interacting with the tool, chatting with the tool to get your information. At the back end, these are something called LLMs. So LLMs are basically AI that can process large volumes of existing data, process this data, and then bring it back to you in specified formats. The limitation is that they cannot think for themselves. They are not creative, which means when you use an LLM, especially the general purpose ones, they cannot give you creative answers. Say, for instance, if I'm asking an LLM, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or any of the academic tools to go find a novel research question for me, what they essentially do is go and look into all of that literature, which talks about research gap, which talks about future directions. And then based on the ideas presented in these papers, it tries to formulate a novel research question or kind of suggest that this could be a novel area that you could explore. So in the true sense, AI cannot be creative. It cannot create something out of nothing, which the human mind is capable of. That is why when it comes to creative jobs, ChatGPT or any of the AI is not your best friend. Now let's assume we are all sitting somewhere in the same classroom. We are holding this as an offline session, okay? And then I ask you to draw out your notebooks, your pen or pencils, and then start drawing what you see on the screen, all the words that you see on the screen. And then let me say that I give you 60 seconds to complete this task. Once you're done, I ask you to exchange the drawings and then also show it to me. Now, we did not do this exercise, but I can pretty much tell you that this is how the pictures would look like. No matter which part of the country you come from, or sometimes even which part of the world you come from, most of your houses would look like this. And unless you still live in a scenic rural area where such tapered roofs, thatched roofs are still in vogue, most of you don't live in a house that looks like this. I'm from Coimbatore, somewhere in the northwestern part of Tamil Nadu. I live very close to the heart of the city. I don't live in a house that looks like this. But if someone were to ask me to draw a house, I still religiously draw the same house. We always draw the same two mountains, the same sun, and so on. This is called learned bias. Though we have access to the real world, we tend to remember and reproduce what we were taught as kids and what we have been teaching our kids as well. Now imagine what happens when we do this with AI. An AI is like a young child, a toddler who has no experience of the real world whatsoever. So when you feed all of these biased data sets into an AI learns that, okay, so this is how a house has to look like. These are the components that a house should have. It has no idea what a real house in this current scenario looks like. So that's exactly what will happen when you feed biased data into AI. And one of the good examples is this set of images. So these images were created by a tool called Midjourney, where you can just give a small prompt describing the image you have in your head, and this tool will convert the image, the prompt, into a proper image. This set of images were created like 2.5 years ago or so, and it was amazing then because it meant we don't have to learn Adobe Photoshop anymore. It was a pain to learn Adobe Photoshop. Even today it is. So even I'm not saying this is not great today, it is. When you look at these images and when you're done being wowed and amazed, take a pause, take a break, and look at them once again. Let me ask you a simple question. Look at the image of the prisoner on the top left corner. And let's assume we're all sitting somewhere in the US. Even then, do you think all prisoners would look like that? Or to rephrase my question, are most prisoners black in the US? If you hurt yourself, How many of you would be treated by a nurse who looks like that? The more important question, why should a nurse look a certain way and why should a cleaner look something completely different? The user did not ask for a certain type of a cleaner or a certain type of a nurse, but the AI has learned these from all the existing images, the advertisements, the website images that we have created over the several decades, and it brings back such biased images. Now, what does bias mean in terms of research? So AI normally tends to uh, kind of amplify already kind of dominant voices, and then it marginalizes the marginalized voices, which means when I give 10 things to AI, if 9 of them say yes, then yes is going to be the answer that AI will pick. So say, for instance, in terms of research, AI has much more access to open access data, very limited access to subscription-based data or paywall data, which means when there is a competition between if the information on paywall papers is right or it is right on the subscription-based papers, AI will take the side of open access papers because it can read more of open access papers, it can read the entire papers, whereas it does not have access to paywall papers. And this is a bias that we should all be aware of, no matter if we are using general purpose tools or very specific academic tools. This bias is real and it could be very problematic in your research work. Today, the technology of AI is very fast. It's just growing in leaps and bounds, and it's running very fast like Usain Bolt on an 100-meter race. Everything else is lagging. Conversations around the ethical use, conversations around the legal considerations. We are not even talking about the environmental implications of running such huge LLMs or everything else. What happens to the creativity of our young kids? We are not having these conversations. We are so focused on the technology of AI. This has to stop. We'll have to keep developing AI technologies, but then also start having more of these conversations. So before we jump into looking at a list of AI tools that can help you with research, I will also introduce a few tools that can help you with teaching. It is important to understand and acknowledge that this ecosystem of AI is complex. It has too many layers to it, and it is evolving every single day. And we humans do not understand all parts of this evolution. This calls for a lot of caution alongside the super excitement that we have for AI. On that note, I'm Dr. Sowmiya. So to add on to the beautiful introduction by Dr. Anu, right now I'm interested in or involved in doing two things. One is that of being an editor. So editing scientific manuscripts day in and day out is my job. So I live, breathe, and work around scientific manuscripts, grant applications, your white reports, white papers, and whatnot. The second role is that of an entrepreneur, where I have a startup which focuses on imparting trainings in the form of webinars, just like the one we are having today. We have private webinars. We also have webinars in association with institutions, like the one today again. We have these long workshops that run for, say, 5 days, 10 days, where we run through a lot of these AI tools. We have hands-on sessions. We talk about how to use them practically, what is possible, what is not possible. We also have lectures on how you should be designing your paper, how you should be picking the right journals, not falling prey to predatory journals, how to tackle these peer reviewer comments. Why is it so difficult to get a manuscript published? Anything and everything around publishing is what we talk about during these workshops. Right now, we have a 5-day workshop running. Today is day 4 of the 5-day workshop. We'll be finishing it tomorrow. And then we also have a small team of editors who work with researchers such as yourself. We don't write papers, we don't ghostwrite your papers, but rather we work in tandem with you. So you finish your research, you create your draft manuscripts, and then we walk into the scene. We help you perfect your manuscripts, restructure it, proofread it, and format it as required by the journal guidelines. Pick the right journal so that you have a better chance at getting your manuscripts published. And we are a core team of life science professionals and medical sciences professionals, but we also have editors from different streams like engineering. We have even worked a few literature papers. We have worked with social sciences papers, but our core competency still lies around biology, life sciences, medical sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, around healthcare primarily, I would say. So diving back into the session, when we look at the life of a researcher, this is slightly old data, but it still holds good from my conversations with clients such as yourself, right? So a majority of your time is spent around reading literature or gathering information, processing it in different ways, and then presenting it in a classroom in the form of a grant proposal or in the form of a manuscript. What if I can give you AI tools that make this part of your life easier, less time consuming, so that you have more time to do the rest of your professional duties and also take time off for your personal life? This thought will form the underlying current for the rest of the presentation today. So one of the first places where you can take help from AI is in finding the right literature. And when we say literature, it could be something as loosely put together as a Wikipedia article, but these tertiary sources are not something we are interested in because scientific articles require proper citations in the form of primary and secondary sources. So how do you normally find these sources? You go into databases like Google Scholar or PubMed, JSTOR, depending on which field you come from. You use a set of keywords. And what do these tools give you normally? They give you tens of thousands of papers. And going through so many papers and figuring out the top 100 papers or 150 papers that are of real interest to you is not an easy task. This is where AI tools like Semantic Scholar can help you. Semantic Scholar looks, feels, and works like Google Scholar, but the difference is that unlike Google Scholar, which is heavily dependent on independent keywords, Semantic Scholar focuses on the semantics, which means it is not just the different words. Say on Google Scholar, when I give 4 different words, A, B, C, D, Google Scholar tends to find all papers that talk about A, all papers that talk about B, all papers that talk about C, and so on. Whereas on Semantic Scholar, it looks at the interconnections between these keywords, how they are placed, their frequency, and so on. The end result is that you have lesser number of papers, but more relevant papers, making your initial search for literature pretty easy and less time consuming. When we look at paper, so say for instance, I tell you I'm writing a paper and this paper has 50 references. How would you imagine this collection of literature? So when you close your eyes, you can visualize my laptop. There is this nice yellow folder somewhere, and within the yellow folder, there are 5, 6, 10 more yellow folders, and within these folders, these 50 papers are distributed. This is how we tend to visualize and look at papers as these independent units or silos. In reality, it is not so. Any research you do is one continuous story. The story did not start with you. It started way back, say 10 years, 15 years ago, when someone published a seminal article. So all research on DNA started with the seminal paper on the structure of DNA from our key scientists around DNA structure, though the others were not acknowledged, right? So similarly, all your talk about nanoparticles for cancer therapeutics, all of this started off with one or a handful of seminal papers, and then this story continues. You're just walking into a part of the marathon and contributing a small bit to the story, which means this entire set of literature we are talking about is one huge mesh of connected papers. And one of the simplest interconnections that exist is through references and citations. Say I'm interested in a paper published in 2017. This paper has 40-50 references. Excuse me. By default, this paper in 2017 is linked to 50 other papers, which form a cluster of backward citations. Now, this paper was published in 2017. We are, 8 years down the lane. There could be another 5, 10, 20 papers that are citing this paper of my choice. Now, all of these papers that cite my primary paper become the forward citations. How do I find these citations? What do I do with them? It's very easy. I just have to go into the references of this paper, find the original paper, and then what do? I read the title, I read the abstract. I don't always read the full text even. I just have to see the title, abstract, and keywords, and then make a decision as to if I want to save this paper into my collection or not. Now, this entire process is pretty straightforward. Very clear set of rules, no creativity whatsoever required. And anytime a process is this straightforward, an AI can do a much better job than you. And that is the reason why you should be handing over at least a part of your literature search to literature mapping tools like LitMaps, because that is exactly what they do. When you give litmaps a paper, it goes back and forth and finds these papers that have very strong references and citation links, and it creates what is known as a primary literature map. And within the interface, you can read the title, you can read the abstract, you can save the papers, you can finally export these papers in a format that is compatible with your reference manager like Mendeley or Zotero, helping you navigate the entire process. So is Litmaps the only tool that can do this? Not necessarily. There are other tools like Research Rabbit, you have Insightful, then there was something called Citation Checo. I'm not sure if it still exists. There are connected papers and so on. So a third way in which you could find literature is, imagine that I'm someone new to the field, or maybe even I'm a seasoned researcher. I'm just reading a news article about something new that has come out in my field. Now, this news article will not give me all the references. Maybe it picks up one or two papers at the most, and then talks about the story based on these papers. But I want to find all the literature about this information. How would I normally go about it? I'll pick the original paper, read it, find back references, go back and forth and find it. Instead of going through all of this hassle, you can simply use a tool like Sourcely, where you can copy paste the news article, you can copy paste the blog, you can just throw in a very rough idea of your notes that you have developed without any references, throw it into Sourcely. Sourcely will find the references for you and it will list it out. All of these very legitimate references, because Sourcely also gives you a link. The title is usually the hyperlink across these tools. Click on the title, you're taken to the journal page, the original journal page with the paper. You can verify for yourself if the information is correct before you use the citation on your literature review or elsewhere. So this is where you paste the information into Sourcely. On the free version, you can use up to 300 characters, but when you're on the pro version, you can pretty much paste entire articles to find papers. You can also apply certain basic filters to the kind of papers you want. Now, when I opened the session with ChatGPT, I talked about certain limitations. Gen AI tools tend to undergo hallucinations. They give you information that don't exist. When they give you the correct information, they don't give you the correct source, or they come up with false sources. And also there is this problem of prompt engineering. Anytime you want these Gen AI tools to function like an academic assistant, you have to do a lot of prompt engineering. But why should you go through all that pain if you can simply ask very direct natural language questions to academic tools like Consensus? So if I want a research paper on Consensus, I don't have to go tell Consensus that, okay, I'm a researcher, consider yourself a researcher. This is a scientific question, so go find answers from journals, give me citations, give me references. None of this is necessary. Ask the question straightforward in simple words, and Consensus will go find the answer for you and come back with a nice summary that looks like this. And every single key sentence has a citation. You can just hover your mouse over the citation, and a small pop-up comes with the title of the paper. You can click the title and it takes you to the actual journal page. Now, this makes life pretty easier. But there are three questions. Is Consensus free? No, it is not free, but it has a free tier. Almost all the tools that I'm talking about today, they are all freemium tools, which means they do have something on the free tier. But if you want to make use of the tool comprehensively, you still have to go for the pro version of the tool. Now, with respect to this Copilot summary, there are two questions. The first is this summary plagiarized? Did Consensus copy this information from existing papers? The answer is no, because Consensus is a summarizing tool. Therefore, it went into multiple papers and summarized the information for you. Okay, great. So this has zero plagiarism. Not necessarily, because there are only so many ways in which you can summarize. There will always be some inadvertent overlaps, but you'll never have 100% plagiarism. A few sentences or few components that has similarities is inevitable, no matter if you do the paraphrasing or if an AI does it. The second question is, if this is not plagiarized content, can I use it as it is on my paper? My answer is yes. Go ahead, use it, provided you're talking about the initial draft of your paper. If you're just using this as an initial draft, as a crutch to start your paper, go ahead, do it. But you cannot have this content on the final copy draft of your paper, because though this content is not plagiarized, this is still AI generated content, and journals have very strict policies against using large volumes of AI generated content in your manuscript. So it will not be a good idea. Works equally good for your thesis, for your MSc reports, for your postdoctoral reports, for your white papers. The rule still is the same. A second tool where you can ask your scientific questions using natural language is Elicit. When you ask a question on Elicit, it gives you this nice summary, citations, references, everything that consensus does. But in addition, these tools also give you a nice tabular column that help you extract very specific data from hundreds of papers. What data am I talking about? I'm not talking about the raw data, the numbers. Rather, I'm talking about information like the research questions, the research gap, or the limitations of the study, or say the future directions of the study. So all you need to do is pick a column. The columns are already predefined. You can just pick a column. You can also design your own column, add the column, and now you will have information from hundreds of papers, very specific information populated into columns. This makes it very easy for you to understand multiple papers, but then also to quickly develop your first drafts out of them. Now, if we are talking about a systematic literature review, that's a completely different process. So in systematic literature review, the goal is not to just find papers, but to do it systematically, and you are expected to document every single step. What was the initial set of papers for a set of keywords? What were the inclusion criteria, the exclusion criteria? And at each step, how many papers were included, excluded, why, who took the decision, and how to take the decision, and so many of these things. That is why, in addition to having literature finding tools to see what literature is out there, you will also need management systems like Ryan, which again is an AI supercharged tool to manage your more complicated processes like SLRs. Understanding scientific papers is not fun. Reading them is also not fun. They are also boring on most of the days. This comes from someone who reads scientific papers day in and day out, and I get to read the very raw first drafts of your papers, which is completely messy and sometimes almost very, very unhinged, even at times, I would say. But even the nice, finished, well-polished papers are not always easy to read. This is because, one, English is not our first language, and formal English is daunting for most of us. The second is because these scientific papers were not written for young researchers. They were written for experienced researchers who already know a part of the backstory. So now, when you don't know the backstory, understanding a paper in its entirety becomes difficult. That is where tools like SciSpace Copilot come into play. So on this tool, instead of reading your paper on a PDF reader, you can upload it to SciSpace Copilot. And anytime you don't understand a certain section of the paper, you can just highlight the section using your mouse. And then using the pop-up, you can either ask for a summary of this text, you can ask for explanations, or you can direct the tool to find related papers. And this works not just for textual content, it also works for equations and tables, making your life pretty easier. You have other questions about the paper, you can always ask the questions into the chat box, and that will help you understand papers better. The way we consume information has evolved over the past years. We no longer are on Facebook. We are more interested in Instagram Reels. We no longer read hard copy books. We want to carry our fancy Kindle everywhere we go. We don't really read through blog posts anymore. We are more interested in reading, listening to podcasts. But the way we consume papers has not changed over the years. We still do it in a very traditional way. Why is that? Why can't I listen to my papers instead? Why are there not podcast forms for my paper? They don't exist for their own reasons. But with the advent of AI, you can now convert any traditional paper into a podcast or a material that you can listen to. And two of the tools you should check out are Speechify and listening.io. Speechify is a general purpose tool that can help you with reading your emails, any documents. Listening.io, on the other hand, was built specifically for helping you read academic papers. Next comes summarize. So when we talk about summarizing, almost all the tools we have discussed up until now, they have a summarizing role. So ChatGPT can summarize, your SciSpace can summarize, Elicit can summarize. But if you are looking for very specific summarizing solutions where you want to upload multiple PDFs, get the output in a specific format, then you should be trying out tools like Scholarly. And one nice feature on Scholarly is this feature called flashcard summary, where you can summarize documents into these small flashcards. And these flashcards can be downloaded as an MS Word document, but you can also download them as a PPT file, which means you can quickly convert your own papers into PPTs without much hassle. Upload, summarize, download as PPT, or skeletal PPT is ready. Maybe work on it for another half an hour or 1 hour, and your presentation is almost ready. Not just the way we consume information, but the way we present information has also evolved. We are no longer right. So have you ever tried going back? Maybe if you are someone who still conventionally writes, then your handwriting is still persists. But if you're someone who has been too tech savvy, you don't write anything at all, everything goes onto your screens, try writing on pen and paper and see how bad your handwriting and your coordination have become. So, and that is a part of evolution. It's nothing about is it wrong, is it right? I'm not going into that debate. So how can we get this better? By using AI tools again, like Audio Pen. Now with Audio Pen, each of us can afford to have a personal assistant. I can just have this AI on my smart devices. And anytime I have a new idea for my paper or a new idea for my next class, all I have to do is just dictate this idea into Audio Pen. Okay, so what is so special about this? Such transcribing tools have existed for so many years. What is special is here that these tools don't just transcribe your words, they also do a bit of proofreading, they clean up your text, and they come back with a very good polished text that is almost ready-made for you to use on your papers or elsewhere. So good manuscripts, good scientific writing, it's not just about the text, it's also about good pictures. Especially when you want to publish in really nice journals, the pictures are also important, so are the graphical abstracts. Unfortunately, though there are several alternatives to Midjourney, where you can simply create images, some of them are even free, journals don't allow you to use AI-generated images within the manuscript, not even within the graphical abstract. So these two are almost obsolete when we are talking about creating images for manuscripts. But then if you're talking about creating images for your presentation, something as simple as Canva Magic Studio can help you in so many different ways. But if you want to experience AI, but then also create images that are usable on your scientific manuscripts, you should be trying out tools like eDrawMax from Wondershare, where there is a combination of templates for different images, different graphs, different flowcharts that you want to create. But then there is also an AI component that will help you create the drafts, but you have complete control over the final diagram, which means though there's an AI component to it, the final image cannot be considered as AI generated because you are the one who's directing it, taking the lead. So you can use these images just like how you would use an image from BioRender, for instance, as long as you credit the tool which help you create these images. Then comes the question of statistical analysis, especially as biologists. Not many of us were taught statistical analysis in a very systematic way, and this still remains as one of the Achilles heel when it comes to biologists. But if you can figure out your data to a certain extent, if you can know what is the end result that you are looking at, several of the business analytics tools like Tableau can help you figure out your data. But then there are also even better options like Julius AI, where all you have to do is upload your data in the Excel sheet form to this tool here. And then this tool basically allows you to chat. So you can use very simple language and tell that, okay, so I want an ANOVA done on this data set. I want a student t-test run on this data set. And essentially what Julius AI does is it converts your natural language prompt into a Python code. It runs this Python code on your Excel sheet and then comes back with the analysis in the format that you actually want. Or say if some of you are working on qualitative data, where you have to extract key information, perspectives from interview data, from focus group data, then Insight 7 is a good choice. Or if some of you are working on qualitative data that you collect through Google Forms or any other type of forms, it's written but it's in the form of a series of question and answers, then Kindo is a great tool for you to start making sense of the huge quantum of data that you have. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Give me a moment. So if you don't have a reference manager in place, you are doomed. You're going to unnecessarily waste several hours in simply trying to format your citations and references from one style to the other. So my advice, always start your research journey with the reference manager. And there is no excuse considering that several of these reference managers are free. These top two ones, Mendeley and Zotero, they are completely free, though Mendeley is owned by Elsevier, but Zotero is free and it is also open source. So there is absolutely no excuse as to why you should not have a reference manager. But in case you did not do that, and now you have ended up having a huge set of references that have to be converted from one style to the other, that is when AI tools like Trix come into play. So on Trix, you can simply copy paste your reference list, pick a reference style of your choice, hit Trix it, and your entire references are converted from one style to the other. So I think this would be a nice time where we can take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, I'll start with talking about how you can use AI to improve language on your manuscripts, also to brainstorm, ideate, proofread, paraphrase, translate, and whatnot. So let's take a quick 5-minute break.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, Dr. Samresh, you're there?
Yes. So we'll start after 5 minutes. The time is now 10:50. So
Yeah, so
after a quick,
10:57 or so. Yeah.
yes. So after 5 minutes, we'll again start.
Yeah. So if you have any questions in the meanwhile, you can keep dropping them into the chat box, or you can also ask me once we finish the lecture. I think it will take another 15-20 minutes to finish, and then we can have a Q&A. So see you in 5 minutes. So I guess we are back. Let's go ahead. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to reshare my screen. I know there are a lot of questions that are coming up. We'll get to it. Yeah. So coming to the language requirements, I know that Quillbot and Grammarly are doing a good job when it comes to taking care of the language in your manuscripts. But the problem is these tools were not initially built for academia. They were tools that were built for general purpose grammar checks and language corrections. And then later on, they kind of adapted to academic requirements. But there are tools which were built with academic data sets like PaperPal, Trinka, and Rightful. So using these tools will allow you to have much deeper corrections with conventions that are in line with what is expected in academic writing. Yeah. And these tools are also available across different platforms. So no matter if you're writing on MS Word, you're writing on Google Docs, you're writing on Overleaf, these tools exist across these different platforms. At least I know PaperPal and Rightful does. So it makes your life easy. When we did our PhDs, one of the wishes we definitely had was, at least one I had was, it was really difficult to write this thesis, especially as a young researcher. I wish we had a magic wand where I can just swish and the thesis gets written. This wish did come true with tools like Jenny. So on Jenny, these are proper writing assistants. You have Jenny AI, you have Yomo AI, where all you have to do is just give a prompt and the tool pretty much writes your entire literature review for you. The catch is that the content is still AI generated content. You will have to verify it before, you will have to rewrite it also before you can use it on your final drafts. Now let's assume we are at the final stage where our manuscripts are ready and we are ready for journal submission. At this stage, you have to check your manuscript for so many different things, not just the abstract to conclusion, but there's a lot of front data, title page data. There's a lot of references, declarations that have to be taken care of. This is where PaperPal has a solution called Manuscript Check, where you can simply load your manuscripts and the tool will check your manuscript for the journal checklist that normally exists. It is a general checklist, not specific to a journal, but it helps to improve your manuscript in accordance with what is expected by several of the journals. Therefore, you have a much better submission. Now, no matter how good your paper is, when your paper goes through the peer review process, it comes back with a lot of critique. Now, what if you can get this mock peer review even before you submit your paper to the journal? Then you can improve your paper based on the critique and then go for the submission. Now your journal has a much, your paper has a much better chance of being moved to the peer review process and then eventually being accepted in a much shorter time. So this is where AI tools like Paper Wizard come into play, where these tools give you a mock peer review report that you can use to improve on your paper even before the submission. And considering that there are a good number of faculty on today's call, grant writing could also benefit with the use of AI tools. Just remember that there are no academically built grant writing tools yet, which means you cannot simply trust an AI and then give your novel idea into the tool. That could become very disastrous. So be very cautious as to where you're using AI and how you're using it. And anytime you're going to give your sensitive data into an AI, make sure that you look beyond the tool, because tools can promise 1,000 things. They can promise the moon and the sky. But are they coming from reliable companies? Are the people behind these tools really reliable? Understand that before you use any of these AI tools for grant writing or otherwise. Making those PowerPoint presentations is an essential part of being in academia. And now that has been made easy with tools like Dectopus, Gamma, Pop AI, where all you have to do is just give a prompt describing your presentation, or you can also upload a manuscript, convert it into a presentation. You can upload multiple documents and ask these tools to summarize these documents and then convert it into a presentation. You don't have to do anything. You can just sit back and watch where this tool creates your entire slide deck with content, with images, but you have control over the content and the images. It is like a PPT version online where you can edit, you can add, delete images, giving you still control over the final output, but helping you get to the final output at a much, much faster pace. So the cornerstone of good scientific communication is not just the research, it's also how you can present your research. Up until now, we saw tools that can help you present it in a written form better. But academia is not just about writing, it's also about speaking. And that is where tools like Udly can come in to help you prepare for your presentations better, where you can virtually present your work, get feedback, improve it, and then take it to your audience. This is also a great tool you can introduce to your students, especially the final year ones who have to sit for their job interviews, who have to sit for their dissertation and so on. So now that we have gone through n number of AI tools, the question is it ethical for me to use any of these AI tools on my next writing project? Yes, if you're using them as your assistants. No, if you're looking at them as replacements to yourself or your work. When it comes to journals, they have very clear guidelines stating that you cannot use AI to the extent that they qualify as a co-author, and AI cannot be added as a co-author. Anytime you use AI for something more than proofreading, simple formatting, ideating, or making language-related changes, you are expected to declare the use of AI. Mention the tool, why it was used, and also the responsibility statements which you will find in your journal guidelines. So now let us talk about these content detectors. When we use these AI tools, there is always this threat that the content gets flagged as AI generated content. That is very true. But these content detectors are not accurate because they detect AI content based on very generic criteria like the sentence structure, sentence complexity, the use of certain words, and this does not entail a good differentiator between human written content and AI generated content. Therefore, if you are a writer that is as good as Shashi Tharoor, then AI content detectors are going to give you very, very bad scores, even though you wrote the entire content. So to check if these content detectors work, I just threw a AI generated content into the content detector. It could find that it was AI generated. But then when I used a humanizer to humanize the content, the AI detector could not find that this content was originally written by an AI and rephrased by yet another AI. And this is where this entire idea of using content detectors is flawed. But when a journal decides to use a content detector, we cannot really contest against this. We will have to go through with the process and rewrite things where rewriting becomes essential. And coming to the teaching part of things, here again, AI can come to your aid with tools like EduAid that can help you plan your lessons, create your assessments, even evaluate your assessments, create gamification modules for your classrooms and whatnot. Copilot, education Copilot, that is also a good choice that you can try out if you are looking at implementing AI into your classrooms. And when it comes to grading, you have choices like Gradescope, and then there are some in-house tools from Eclavia, for instance. These tools can help you with assessments, not just MCQs. Even your subjective assessments can be put through proper evaluations on these AI tools. But remember, AI is still the assistant, and we still want the classrooms to be led by a human teacher, but the human teacher to be assisted by the AI and not the other way around. When it comes to letting students use AI, there is no question of should we let them use, because we have crossed that stage. We have to think on novel ways in which we can introduce AI. I can just tell you this one pointer that if we want to introduce AI, if we want our students to start using AI, we cannot do that with existing systems. We cannot give them AI and then test them for the product. The process has to be taken into consideration. The assessments have to be redesigned. The evaluation criteria has to be redesigned. The entire rubric has to be reimagined if we are to bring AI mainstream into student usage into our higher education classrooms. So to conclude, there was a time when fire belonged only to the gods, or that is what Greek mythology says. And Prometheus, a young god, brings fire down to the humans, and this earned him a lifelong punishment for this action. I'm not sure if this was how fire was discovered, but I'm pretty sure that when fire was discovered for the first time, not all humans were happy. Some of them were happy, were excited about the possibilities, but most of the humans could only see the threat of fire. Today, we have a new fire amongst us, and that fire is called AI. AI has so many flaws. It is scary. It definitely has at least a very slight potential of taking over the world and destroying the humankind as we know of it. But that is no excuse to not give this amazing technology a chance that it deserves. So my takeaway for you from this session is approach AI with an open mind. But does not mean you have to close your eyes to potential dangers. Make sure you're using it the right way. Make sure we make AI use the redundant, boring, dull tasks so that we humans can spend our time in higher order thinking, bettering the world, and making sure we don't destroy the earth in the process. So if you like today's session, maybe you'll also like our upcoming webinar at the end of May, where we'll be exploring how to speak better as academics, how you can face an audience confidently, how you can make sure your audience are not sleeping through 10 minutes of your sessions. Just a small, fun 1.5 hour webinar. If you're interested, write to me. I'll be very happy to share the registration link. And this is where you can reach me beyond the session. I'll also share the link. So this QR code is for my LinkedIn, where I write almost 3 to 4 times a week on different aspects of AI. I collect AI tools for research, but then also for teaching in higher ed, also how to introduce AI to students. Basically, everything around AI in research and academia. You can also reach me on WhatsApp, not good with calls, but great with WhatsApp. You can also drop us a message in case if you're looking for a similar session for your institution, or say you're looking for manuscript editing services for your next manuscript. You can always drop us a message and we'll see how to take it forward. Yeah. Now, this is a much more important QR code where you can drop your feedback about today's session. And as a thank you note, we'll share a PDF list of several AI tools, not just the one that I discussed in the session. I'll also give you alternate AI tools on this PDF list so that you can have a ready-made list anytime you want to refer back. I'll also share this link on the chat box. Just give me a moment. I'm going to share this, come back, take a few questions, and then let's go ahead and try some of the tools hands-on. That was the goal of the session overall. So I'm also sharing. So on the chat box, what you'll see is you'll see the link to the feedback form. Make sure you submit it so that we have your details to share details of our future programs, but then also the PDF list of tools and as they get upgraded. And then also the registration form for the upcoming webinar, my LinkedIn profile. And then there are 3 more important links. So one is the link to a webinar I did with PaperPal, which is a very useful AI tool which can help you from ideation to mock peer review. I'll show a quick overview of PaperPal. So this is a much more detailed session I did with them for 1.5 hours. It's on YouTube. I've shared the link. Similarly, SciSpace, you remember the tool where I talked about data extraction in the form of tables. I have done a webinar for that tool hosted by the company, and I have also shared that link. And we also have yet another young and upcoming tool called Answer This, which also helps you write literature reviews very quickly, going from a very simple question to finding the literature, extracting information, and developing your reviews. So we'll be doing a webinar on April 28th. Is it April? Yeah, it's April 28th and the registrations are open. This is a free webinar and it also includes a certificate if you attend. So you can also register for that webinar. So all of these links are in the chat box. Make sure you copy paste it into a safe space before we proceed. So I'm going to just scroll up and take a few questions before we go ahead. Okay. Okay, so I'm going in the reverse order. So thanks to those of you who appreciate the lecture. It means much. I cannot thank you individually due to lack of time, but know that I'm grateful. Yeah. So Dr. Sonal, no, the tools are not free. They are freemium tools, which means you can access certain features for free. But if you want to use the complete tool, you have to go for the pro version. Okay. Yes, Dr. Vishal, make sure to submit the feedback form. You're getting the list. Dr. Jyoti, I've answered your question. Okay, so Dr. Charu, there are no AI tools that can help you access paywall papers, but there are a lot of these traditional tools like Paper Panda, you have academia.edu, then you have something called Unpaywall. So these are, several of these are like, they are Chrome extensions, and once you add them, you can find these papers from different databases. Yeah. So yes. Rupesh, I don't think universities will accept images created by using AI, because universities and other institutions, they tend to follow suit with what journals say, right? Therefore, when publishers are not okay with these images, several of the institutions are also not okay. So your best bet is to use tools like eDrop, where there's a combination of conventional things and your AI components. Yeah. And to answer your question, Dr. Praveen, you can give a try using ChatGPT. So you can just ask ChatGPT to convert your reference list from, say, Vancouver to Harvard style. But what ChatGPT cannot do at the moment is it cannot make changes to your in-text citations. So even now, with all these AI tools, it is still better that you figure out a reference manager, incorporate a reference manager into your writing process. Okay. Again, Rupesh, it is all about the prompt and the tool that you use if you want to make a natural looking image. But the tools are still catching up, and none of the free tools are really good. There are, Midjourney has very good options for making these natural looking images, but Midjourney is not free. And Dr. Praveen, if you're using BioRender, if you're on the pro version of BioRender, Dr. Praveen, you don't have to get a specific license, because the license comes with the pro subscription. Any image that you create, you own the copyright. You can use it directly, provided you're on the pro version. Yeah. So Bhagyalata, I can share, I'll share a resource that will tell you how to design a prompt. And then you can design prompts for whatever you want, for literature, for research gaps and whatnot. Dr. Kumaravel Rajan, I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer this question, especially I'm not really sure about these abbreviations, but if you can explain, I'll try answering it to the best of my ability. Rupesh, you will have to find literature through these literature search tools for finding toxicity studies for your synthesized drugs. GraphPad, Dr. Mirza, do you mean GraphPad Prism? If so, yes, it is a great tool, just that it is not as supercharged with AI. And because it is not, images from GraphPad Prism are very much usable on your manuscript. So I think before this, it's all good morning messages. And yes, the upcoming webinar for Answer This is free. I think that is what you're asking. And for word count reduction, you can use PaperPal, you can use Quillbot, you can use Trinka. All the language tools will work for all the language tools will work for word count reduction. Dr. Suvarna, okay, you're talking about the public speaking workshop. No, the public speaking workshop is a paid workshop. The Answer This workshop or the webinar is a free webinar. Yeah. Dr. Sudhamani, I don't think you should go with a free online plagiarism checker, because plagiarism is a very costly affair. For a plagiarism tool to really work well, it has to have access to paywall papers. How can it get access to paywall papers? Only by paying the charges. So why would a tool pay money out of its pocket to get access to the resources and then offer it to you for free? So when a plag checker tells you that it is free, it means it is not making use of paywall papers. And when paywall papers are not a part of the database, your plag check is not accurate. So I wouldn't really trust a free plag checker. Dr. Sonal, yes or no, there are no free AI tools, but you can use the free tier versions of SciSpace, Answer This, and PaperPal for writing your literature reviews. Yeah. I think I covered this part of if AI generated text can be used. Dr. Lakshmi, yes, you can use AI tools for patent search also, just that you should set the filter to not just look for journal articles, but also for patent articles. But one better tool to do that is just do Google Patents. So Google Patent is a search engine specifically for patents. That works much better is what I feel. For graph making, Deepthi, I just mentioned, okay, graph making as in you want your data analysis graphs. In that case, Julius AI. If you're talking about graphs with, there's also Visme. So Visme can also make graphs. So Visme and Julius is your best bet. Visme is for converting data into graph without analysis. But if your data has to be analyzed and then converted into graphs, it is Julius AI. So there is no AI tool per se for references. You have to just go with Zotero or Mendeley. There are AI tools. You have, what is that called? It's called Paperpile, but then that's a paid tool. While Zotero and Mendeley, they are free tools, right? So why not use free tools instead? Suvarna, yes, the public speaking workshop, public speaking webinar is charged. And so it's all there on the chat box. Just scroll up. You have the complete details. I'm going to reshare it once again for those of you who missed it. And I'm going to just show you a few resources for designing prompts and maybe a quick overview of PaperPal before we wind up. And I can come back and Mr. Sagar is not the father of AI, but Alan Turing is one of the founding fathers of AI. At least some of them, some of us consider him so. Yeah. Okay. There are still a lot of questions. Let me come back. Okay. So let me go back and share my screen. Is my screen shared still? Okay.
Yeah, it's shared. Yes.
So one of the first resources that I want you all to have for today is this prompt library from AI for Education. Now, this prompt library is not exactly for research prompts, but this tells you how you should be designing your prompts. Okay. So just go to aiforeducation.io, find the prompt library. This is how it looks like. Scroll down and you can say, find different categories of prompts. I'll go with lesson plans. So how can you make a tool create a lesson plan? So this is an example prompt that gives you an idea as to how you should be designing your prompts. How detailed should these prompts should be, and then how do you stack them so that you get the best out of ChatGPT. I have run this example on my ChatGPT. I hope this is it. I have it ready because we don't have to spend additional time. So this was the example I mentioned during the session. So when I say what is photosynthesis, this is the generic answer. This answer is not bad. It is good. But in a context of school teaching, this doesn't work. So what did I do? I changed the prompt. I hope all of you can read the prompt. And now I have explained the context. I have given very clear instructions as to what I want. And yeah, I also want some intersubject connections because we are in the NEP 2020 era where everything is about interdisciplinary understanding. And with this prompt, what happens is the entire tone changes. Now the language is simpler, not that it is not accurate, it's just that it is simple, much more easily relatable for a grade 6 classroom. And then these analogies are also very simple and can be easily understood by young kids. There are examples. There are cross-subject links as to how I can link this concept with what they have already learned in math, chemistry, environmental science, and so on. And then also it gives me activities because I asked for activities and assessments as to how you can use this tool. And then it also gives me homework assignments. Now, what if I'm a researcher trying to present the work in a conference as a keynote address or even as a simple talk? Now the prompt has to change. So now the tool has to behave like an expert researcher. It has to write notes for me. I have mentioned who my target audience are. And when it is university professors, researchers, I don't have to introduce photosynthesis to them. They know photosynthesis already. They are there to listen to me talk about what are the latest advancements, what are the new discoveries that we have made for this age-old process that we have known for several decades now. That's what they are interested in. And when I prompt, and remember, I'm not even asking for citations. I'm not asking for references. I'm just mentioning that this has to be accurate, it has to be formal, and it has to be published information. And ChatGPT does understand the job. And when I scroll down, I can see that the content is formal. It's more advanced, definitely. And it also has these reference citations. And the reference citations, even without me mentioning that I only need the latest in the field, most of the citations are from the past 5-6 years. 2019 is the oldest citation, I believe. And now, not just citations, there is also a reference list below, now making my life pretty easier. So the goal of me showing you this is this can happen with ChatGPT also. But having said that, there could be some errors. ChatGPT can end up giving you information that does not really exist. Okay. So for a generic question, this is the kind of answer that I can get, right? So what happens when I use a tool that is more attuned to the needs of academia, like consensus? Say my favorite topic is how does this diet change called intermittent fasting help in diabetes? That is my favorite topic. That's the example I keep using always. So how is intermittent fasting beneficial in T2DM or type 2 diabetes? And then I can set filters, year filters, journal quality filters, method filters, even geographical filters. Right now, I'm not setting any. And then you just hit on. Oh, I had to do so much of prompt engineering to get this answer with citations from consensus, from ChatGPT. But with consensus, I can ask a simple question, and by default, consensus gives me information with citations. So this is the first citation. Just have to click on the title. Okay. You can always scroll down. This is your first citation. Click on the title. And my system is slow. So the title is a hyperlink. It has to take you to a page with more details on the paper. And then say you want to read the original paper. You can always click on full text and you'll be taken to the original page with the paper, which means you don't have to rely on consensus. You can verify the information for yourself before you use the information on any of your documents. Yeah. But the limitation with consensus is it can only give you a summary. But are there tools that can help you synthesize an entire literature review? There you have this tool called Answer This. So this is the tool that we'll be seeing in detail on April 28th webinar. So what happens when I ask the same question here? So is intermittent fasting beneficial in type 2 diabetes? It will take a bit of time. But one good thing about Answer This is it recently introduced the deep research feature, which means the literature reviews written or the draft literature reviews generated are way better. Not just that, Answer This also has tools which will help you proofread your papers, proofread for language. It can also help you generate citation maps. You can even create some of the basic diagrams for your papers using Answer This. So Answer This is kind of developing into this one-stop solution for all of your research requirements. And it is charged right now at somewhere at 700 rupees for every month. I might have a discount code that will give you a, say, 10-20% discount on this price. Just have to find the discount code. Maybe I'll find it and I'll add it to the chat box in a moment. So standard searches on Answer This take around 1 to 2 minutes, but it can also take more time if you go for the deep research version. In the meantime, I'm going to take a few questions by the time this is ready. Okay, so how to humanize AI to bypass the plagiarism? Mirza, to answer your question upfront, I would say it's never a good idea to humanize AI content. Yeah. So if you want to humanize it, you should use a human to humanize it and not an AI humanizer. Because humanizers, again, they are not really accurate and they kind of mess up the entire content. Yeah. So they unnecessarily expand on your content. They use language which is not always natural. So the bottom line is humanizers are a fun experiment, but they are not a solution to your AI content problem. The solution to your AI content problem is to not use AI to write into your writing canvas, but rather to use it as a crutch to get suggestions to write your text. Yeah. Okay. Can Grok 3 work out? I have not worked much with Grok 3, but why not? So if you can have good prompting techniques, any of these AI tools should work. And Dr. Amit, I think when it comes to paraphrasing, PaperPal definitely does a good job. And SciSpace has a paraphraser that can develop as a translator into several of the local languages as well. Yeah. Dr. Maunika, you can use an AI tool called PaperPile, but that will not exactly solve your issue of having to build a literature collection. So the better choice is still to use Zotero or Mendeley. That is a better choice. But then you also have these new tools like Anara, where it's basically Unriddle. It was it was an earlier it was called Unriddle, and that can also add citations. It can generate automated references, but again, not a solution. It is much simpler to use free reference managers like um, Zotero. So I'll show you Anara homepage, but not a great choice. I mean, technically, no. Okay, Anu, I'm not sure if I'm the qualified person to answer this, but a PhD in any field will become worthwhile if you find the right supervisor, you're in the right research group, and you have a clear vision as to what you want to do after the PhD. Because there is scope for every single field. Some of the fields, the competition is higher. In other fields, maybe it is slightly lower. But at the end of the day, it all depends on the individual competence. How hard are you willing to work? And how much of self-learning happens with you as a PhD scholar. So Mirza Quillbot can do a good job of paraphrasing if that was your answer, but PaperPal does a better job, I can tell you. So Ashwani. what tools can be used for meta-analysis of research papers? So for meta-analysis, I don't see, you cannot just outsource it to AI tools, though you can use management tools like Ryan, for instance. There are also tools like Evidence Hunt. I cannot recall all the names now, but there is a whole list of tools. So you will find these lists on my LinkedIn page. Just scroll up. I did make a post on systematic literature review recently. But what I can tell you is when you want to do anything with meta-analysis or SLRs in general, it's a bit tricky when you want to use AI tools because you have to document the entire process. And when you document that, a part of the process was outsourced to AI, make sure the publishers are okay with it. Because after you spend months doing the meta-analysis and writing out the paper, and then if the publishers say, no, we don't accept this methodology because an AI was involved, then it could be a problem. So using management tools and lit tools are okay for meta-analysis, but doing the entire process and decision making using an AI might not be. So, Dr. Shankar, I think you should be simplest self-plug is you should follow people who talk about these AI tools, who constantly work with these AI tools. So that is what I try to do on my LinkedIn page, for instance. I constantly write about these new AI tools. I talk about the updates that come with the older versions of the tools. And to be honest, even it is difficult for me to keep myself up to date with all these changes. Some days it so happens that I go into a workshop, I open an AI tool, and it looks completely different. There are a few new features, everything has been reassembled, and I have used this tool just 1 week ago. Within a week, within a few days, so much can change within AI because the field is moving right now at a very fast pace. So yes, being connected with people who are interested in knowing what is happening in AI definitely helps. Anup, I think we should take this conversation elsewhere because we are kind of moving away from the goal of the workshop where the focus is on AI tools for research. But you can always drop me a mail with your questions around doing your PhD in different fields, and I'll see what I can do. Is Adobe integrated AI useful for research? Which part of Adobe are you exactly talking about, Dr. Mirza? That is what matters, right? So, and considering Adobe is a image solution company per se, AI images are right now a bit complicated. So I'm not sure how good Adobe can do. Even with Adobe Firefly, for instance, it's a free tool. You can create amazing images, but those images are almost useless when it comes to the academic research perspective. Dr. Sonal. Yes, Dr. Sonal, answer this. That's exactly what answer this is doing at the background right now. If you gave a question, it can pretty much create an entire literature review from scratch. Dr. Abhishek, you can select research problems and research gaps by identifying these information from multiple papers, like conventionally, or there is this tool called Research Kick, Research and then Kick, K-I-C-K. It's not a free tool. You don't have any free trials on the tool, but that is one tool I know that can directly give you the research gap and research questions. Okay. And then I have shared all of that, Dr. Kalavati. So let me share it once again on the chat box. So just scroll up or scroll down, Dr. Kalavati, you will find my LinkedIn ID. What AI tool is best for designing graphical abstract? Graphical abstract is again a problem. So there is this tool called Tidbit. BioRender is good for creating your graphical abstracts. You can create it using Mind the Graph. And Tidbit is, they claim to be an exclusive tool for creating graphical abstracts. But the problem is publishers don't allow you to use AI, not just within the in-text images, but also within the graphical abstract, which means you cannot directly use an AI generated image onto your graphical abstract. Maybe small bits and pieces of your graphical abstract can be generated using AI, provided you acknowledge the use of AI. It's always a good practice to over declare. Anytime you're not sure if I should declare the use of AI, just declare. Then let the publishers take a call as to if this can be allowed or if you can make changes to it at a later point in time. That's a much better way to do this. Okay. So for Journal Finder, the simplest thing you can use is manuscript matcher from Web of Science, Dr. Sudha. And also you have journal finder tools from Elsevier. Every single publisher, they have their own journal finders. But if you're talking about a finder that should work across multiple publishers, then manuscript matcher from Web of Science. Then you have Jane, Jane. These are some good choices. Dr. Pradeep, for getting current stats related to any diseases. Okay. Depends on what sources you want this tool to use. If you can tinker with your prompt, I think most of these deep research tools like Deep Search, DeepSeek, or even the Deep Search function on ChatGPT can help you find these statistics, provided you clearly mention where these statistics have to come from. They cannot just come from any source. They have to come from really reliable sources like, say, NIH, WHO, for instance. You just have to engineer a prompt and see if that works. I'm not aware of a tool that can cater to your requirement directly. What AI is there for improving UPSC mains content? Dr. Sashi, I believe several of these Chin AI should be able to do it, provided that the UPSC curriculum requirements are available everywhere. So when an information is so widespread, I think several of the general purpose AI tools can help you out. I have not tried this use case, but you can definitely give it a try. Yeah. So let me just go into my just find the code for you and I'll be back. We'll go and check out what happened with so this, just give me a moment. Yeah. So I found the code. This code gives you a 20% discount on the pro version of Answer This, which is currently charged at somewhere around 700 rupees. Okay. So you can also copy down the code and place it somewhere so that you don't miss it. So this is the tool I was talking about. Anara, again, is not completely free, but there is a free tier. And this is one tool where you can start writing and the tool will suggest automatic citations. Might not always work, but you can definitely give it a try. Yeah. So we asked a very simple question to answer this, and Answer This has gone ahead and developed an entire literature review for it with a good number of citations. So this runs to a proper literature review with sufficient number of citations. And not just that, the entire reference list will also be generated just below your, so there are 32 papers at least that has been summarized to create this literature review in 3 minutes. This is just the draft, but it is a pretty good draft, I would say. And you have the citations listed below. Right now, the citations are in the Vancouver style, which means they are in the numbered style in the in-text, and the citations or the reference list is arranged in numerical order. What if I don't want this style? I want the author year style or the Harvard style. You can change the style here. That will change both your in-text citations and your references at the end. Not just that, say as you're reading, say for instance, I'm reading this sentence. And then I don't want to just take the word of Answer This for the information here. I want to check the paper myself. You can just click on the citation. It will take you to the right-hand panel where the details of the paper are available. You're not happy with the summary. You want to see the actual paper. You can just click on the DOI. That will take you to the original paper. Or maybe you don't want the original paper, but you have more questions about the paper. You can just click on Chat with Paper.
I must say, this is a real gold mine. I believe all the audience is really happy to see this tool. It's really new for me
Okay.
and for all the audience. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. So this has much more use cases. That's why I urge all of you to join the webinar on 28th. There I'll have more time. I'll have 1.5 hours, one tool. I'll not be running around, and we'll see quite a number of use cases. Okay. So where is this chat with paper? So it will take a bit of time. Okay, the chat setup somehow could not happen. But when it happens, what will happen is essentially a chat window will open up where you can ask any question that you want to have answers for from within this paper. Say, for instance, okay, it talks about XYZ. I'm interested in knowing more about how the paper arrived at this result. What was the methodology used? What was the population used? What was the number that was used? Because any paper can claim anything, but if the number of samples used, the number of participants, if that is not robust enough, if the statistical analysis is not airtight, then the results and all claims really don't mean anything, right? So that is where you get to interact with the paper. You also can go to the original paper, check for yourself before you make a final decision. So this is Answer This. And on Answer This, I can also show you the citation maps. So say, for instance, you can start by typing in title or keywords. And then say I can pick one of these papers as the origin paper or the main paper based on which the citation map is basically creating a literature map. So I start with one paper, and then this tool helps me track back all the key literature that is related to this paper. That is what citation maps can help me. The map is not important. The map is just a way to find the papers. Okay. So I can pick one paper. I'm just looking for a paper that has a good number of citations. So 35 citations. I'm just looking for something with slightly more citations, because if a base paper has more citations, then I have a better chance of finding even more papers, right? Okay, so we'll go with 43 citations. So this basically tells you the color code. So if a paper has these blue lines, it means it's a citation. If the paper has these red lines, it is a reference. And then if they have gray lines, they basically have just okay, it's really difficult to work with all of this. Okay. So these are the core papers around my paper of choice. Not just that, I can see how well connected these papers are. So it is not just some random set of papers, just papers found with the reference list and just the citations, but these are papers that have much more interconnections. And this tells me, say, for instance, I can expand and read each of these papers. I can just click on each of these papers. I can get the paper info. I can get the metrics. I can also maybe use this paper as the origin for my next citation map. A lot of that is possible. So this is just a primary map. By extrapolating from the primary map, you get to create more advanced, but then also very specific maps. The map is not important, as I mentioned. What is important is the collection of literature that you arrive at. You don't start with this top-down approach where you have to deal with thousands of papers before you can get those 100 papers. But when you go in a bottom-up approach with a handful of papers, with an intention and direction in mind, then it becomes very easy to build your literature. And the diagram functionality right now is a bit limited, I would say, but you can still just use a simple prompt to create a flow chart, to create different kinds of graphs. Right now, this makes more sense for your research proposals, where you can create Gantt charts, you can create your timelines and so on. But I'm sure this feature would expand in the coming days, considering that this is a pretty new feature to answer this. So any questions at all with the tool, even otherwise? Okay, so for network pharmacology, graph preparation, stats, heat maps, I'm not sure about heat maps, but for the rest of it, you can definitely try the basic graphs from eDraw Max, the eDraw AI feature especially, and you can also give Julius a try if some of these graphs are created from data. So, Mr. Sagar, PaperPal has a plagiarism checker. So, if you have the pro version of PaperPal, you can do a plagiarism check for 10,000 words every month. So, but you should be on the pro version, on the paid version of PaperPal. The easy way to check plagiarism, Dr. Anju, I would say, is to submit your paper for plag check through an institution. Could be your institution, could be an institution from an acquaintance, but that's the safest way to hand over your paper, because there are a lot many private players who offer plag checks. But the concern is, how safe is your paper? Because you have spent years on the research, on the paper, and if for some reason your paper gets leaked out onto the internet, then you lose years of work. It's very difficult to pull back a paper once it is thrown into the internet. There'll be some remnants sticking somewhere. And when that is the case, you'll have a very hard time convincing an editor that this paper was already not published and this is something new. So I wouldn't go to that trouble. I would rather give my paper into a very reliable source to get my plag report done. So any other questions? So if some of you want to unmute and ask questions, that is also fine, I guess.
Kindly audience, you can use the raise a hand option from the React part. I will give a chance to unmute. I request the audience who would like to ask question, please use the unmute, that raise hand option.
Okay, so Dr. Rahul wants to know about prompt writing. So prompt writing basically is where you don't simply ask questions to ChatGPT in natural language. Like, yes, it is natural language, but then you don't ask very vague questions like, what is photosynthesis? What is intermittent fasting? Is intermittent fasting useful for so and so? You set the context. You say clearly, under what category are you asking this question? So if as a researcher, you want ChatGPT to write a literature review, then you say that, okay, I'm trying to write a literature review on this XYZ topic. Find information only from journal articles, only from, say, Q1, Q2 journals, and present information in, say, a concise manner, include citations for all the key information. I want at least 40 citations and a list of 40 references. And then maybe you can also say that you want information to be included only from papers that were published in the past 2 years, 3 years or so, because that's what is the most valid information on a literature review. You will have to communicate all of this in simple lines. So one line after the other, step-by-step instructions, and then you see what is the output. Check the output and see if you're happy with the output. Is the output in line with your expectations? If not, continue the chat. Tell ChatGPT what has worked, what has it done correctly, what is it not right, and then set the task back to ChatGPT. So do these corrections back and forth a few times before you can have some usable material. A good analogy is, imagine that ChatGPT is a young assistant. They are curious, they are brilliant, they want to help you, but they don't understand the whole picture. If you have a young MSc student in your batch, for instance, they don't know what a literature review is, but they are top of their class. Once you teach them the process, they will understand. Look at ChatGPT like this young assistant. If you can very clearly explain the task with do's and do nots, inclusion, exclusion, and everything, ChatGPT can do a good job. And when I say ChatGPT, I mean all the Gen AI tools, right? Why Gen AI tools? Because they are free and also because they can do a lot of these functionalities. But if you can afford to have an academic tool, that is always the best way to tackle this. Okay, good video making tool for teaching. I have not done many videos, but I know that Visme can do a good job in creating video presentations also. And then there is something called Synthesia, which will create avatars for your videos. And then even Canva Magic Studio has an option where you can use a simple prompt to create videos. I'm not sure if Adobe Firefly has the option, but you can definitely give it a try.
Shalindra
Yeah,
Patel want to
so
ask question. Dr. Shalindra Patel is still unmuted.
Yes. Am I audible, sir?
yeah,
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Shailendra, you are. Hi.
Thank you so much, madam. You have given a very informative and
Thank you.
in a very simple language, so many things which are very useful for a researcher or for a academician and a number of people or students. I have no questions because you have explained it so very well
Thank you.
that
Thank you, sir.
there is not at all any question.
Okay.
I would like just request to the organizers that please share the PPT because I joined little late your session. So this is one of my requests. If they can provide us the recording of today's this very beautiful and very informative session. Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
sir.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Dr. Pradeep, here, the PDF I have is categorized into different categories with the respective tools. So that will happen. So how we find plagiarism software is correct? Huh? That's a question, Dr. Anju. There is no question of if plagiarism softwares are right, at least right now. So to rephrase your question, I think the question is more of which flag tool is more relevant, yeah, which is more accurate. So right now, Turnitin and Authenticate are the most popular choices. And that is why I suggest you should be using institutional versions of these tools so that your documents are safe and your flag reports are also accurate. Yeah. So that's it. Okay. When any idea was posted, yeah, this is a good question, Dr. Bhagyalata. When it comes to these AI tools, right? Several of these AI tools, especially all your general purpose ones like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, for instance, they train their models based on user data, which means anything and everything you talk to these tools, it is taken as training data to train the model and make it better, or sometimes that makes it worse also. But this does happen. And there are very few of these companies that explicitly tell you that we don't use your data for training. So be very careful when you're giving any sensitive data to any of these AI tools. Now, coming to these academia-specific AI tools like PaperPal, SciSpace, I have seen the teams claim that they don't use user data for training their models. They have their own in-house data sets for training their respective AI models. But don't take my word for it. Anytime you want to use a tool with some sensitive data, go into their websites, look at the people, look at the company, how trustable are they? Just Google to see if there are any stories of breaches from these companies before you post anything sensitive to these tools. So these tools, I would say, if you're trying to just brainstorm a few ideas, that works. If you're trying to use these tools as glorified search engines to quickly find information from existing literature, that works beautifully. But when it is very sensitive information that you want to work on, I would still hesitate to hand it over to an AI tool. So that's the word of caution. Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Saifi. Yeah, that's to the hosts. I believe there is a recorded version of the session. So that kind of brings us to the end of the session. Any quick one or two questions before we say our goodbyes?
So last one or two question we will take. If any audience want to say feedback or any questions, please you can turn on your camera as well as I will give you a chance to unmute. You can directly ask question to ma'am. Anyone?
So to answer your question, Prajakta, for animated videos and images of pharmacology lectures, I think Canva and Visme might have some options for you. Synthesia might have some options for you. I have not really worked much with animated videos. I will have a list of tools somewhere, but I cannot really recollect any at the moment. Yeah. But these tools are some good starting points. Canva, Visme, and the likes.
So I can see Dr. Sonal is going to ask some questions. Dr. Sonal, please unmute.
Good morning, sir and ma'am. And this is the very informative session, and I've been joining it from since morning. Dr. Sowmiya, ma'am, I want to know one thing, that as a researcher, we always want some free tools which is available, and you said that they are paid. You want to go to the paid version. So, as a researcher, do we have anything of AI tool which is free of cost, providing all the things, ma'am? Are
No,
we always going to have the paid version only for
you
going
have to
more?
go
Because
for
myself is from the finance commerce stream. So in our area, we have to do each and every empirical study. So we need the PLS, yeah, SM, and that is also a paid version. We need MOS, that is also a paid version. SPSS, that is always a paid version. So, ma'am, we do not have, as you have shown so many AI tools. I had written all the AI tools which you were screening on your PPT. So, as you said that if you want to go to the higher version, we have to pay for them. So I don't want to pay, but I want to do a good research. So what is the option available for me? I have to pay.
Yeah, I would suggest you don't have to be overwhelmed by all of these tools. You can just pick one of the tools. That is the reason why I introduced Answer This, because that has a solution for several of your requirements. Especially people struggle with finding the literature and summarizing literature, for which Answer This is a good tool. So, and it's not that costly also, I would say, because 700 with the discount, if you apply the discount code, that's less than 700 per month. That's a good starting point. So you can just try out one tool. Maybe this is a good tool to start off with. I think there is also a monthly subscription. Maybe don't go for the annual subscription. Try it out for a month. And then if you feel it is worth the investment, you can always extend the subscription. I think that is how I would go about. You don't have to have all the tools. It depends on what your requirement is. So for some people, it is writing. For some people, it is literature management. For some others, it is data extraction. That is where they need help. So depending on your requirement, you can pick just one or two tools. And considering that most of the researchers need help with literature review, Answer This is a good start. Yeah. Okay. So Mirsa has a question. To explore all the AI tools to write a paper, should I be a freelancer? I don't understand how both of this go together. Mirsa, if you can explain, I can answer this. Tool run by some fraudsters can harm us in any sense. Yes, there will always be tools, Dr. Krishnakant, that are out there that are not really properly built, that are not backed up by good companies or reliable teams. And see, if you're using it for a simple literature search, I don't see what harm can come. But if you are talking about tools that you use for language corrections on your manuscript, it could be disastrous. So that is why it is important that you don't just fall for this tag of free. Because in today's internet world, when something is free, then you happen to be the price that you're paying. Your data is the price that you are paying, your personal data and your professional data as well. So it is better that you pick a tool that caters to most of your requirements and then go for the pro version. Make sure the tool is from a good company and from a good team. That is the safest, smartest way to go about it right at the moment.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Midja, you like to ask
Yes, yes.
something?
Yes, thank you very much for the very good session. My question was already answered, but I have another question. Is there any good tool, AI tool for drug regulatory affair writing? So is there any specific tool? Because it is very specialized domain.
Okay. So I have not come across a tool that is specific for regulatory writing, but even with regulatory writing, if we are talking about the language, if you're talking about the way things are organized, then several of these AI tools might help you. But I do understand that regulatory writing comes with its own templates and its own requirements. Right now, I don't have a recommendation, Mirza.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think all the questions are already answered. Now there is a special announcement. Ma'am, if you are already discussed that we are going to organize one session, is 3 days workshop for the faculties, research scholars, as well as for the PG students who like to explore more. So definitely they can enroll for this 3 day workshop from 1st to 3rd May 2025, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I'm very delighted to say that Dr. Sowmiya Rani ma'am also be there as a speaker for this session. So where you will going to learn lots of tools to use for your research, for your academia, for proposal writing, for manuscript drafting, and so on. So I believe you must attend this workshop on the 1st May to 3rd May, 3 days workshop. So with the objective of AI tools, then literature review, manuscript drafting, then in academic as well as day-to-day academic tasks. So definitely it will going to reduce your time for many tasks. So, ma'am, anything from your side for
Yeah.
this workshop?
So I guess I'm doing day 1 or day 2. We have not finalized that yet, but we'll have close to 3.5 hour sessions. We'll still have the lecture that we saw today, a slightly different version or the same version. But what will be different on the workshop is that we'll have much more time to handle hands-on sessions. So the goal here is to pick up 3 tools and solidly introduce these 3 tools, not just a very quick overview like we saw today, because today's lecture was more on the introductory part of AI. On the workshop, we'll have the introduction. We'll rediscuss all the things that we discussed today, but we'll have a solid 2 hours where we'll discuss, or rather, we'll have an exclusive hands-on session on select tools. So join us. I'll see some of you there. Okay.
So thank you, ma'am. And the fees is 500 rupees but for this audience who has already joined this FDP, the organizing team has decided to keep is 400 rupees. Okay. So the participants who are there for this e-FDP, you can pay only 400 rupees, but for rest of the participants, it's 500. So you can enroll yourself and stay with your computer and laptop for 4 hours daily for 3 days. Please don't come for the certificate. Most of faculties, they are enrolled for certificate. So I believe certificate is not the solution for your day-to-day task as well as the research. So that's why my sincere request, who is really willing to learn AI tools to uh, simplify your daily works as well as research, you should enroll to this session. So we are at the end of this session. So thank you, ma'am, for your insightful session and delivering with all the AI tools for research as well as for academia. I believe all the audience in this room are getting a lots of gold mine from your PPT as well as your deliverance. And finally, I say from Swadhar Patel College of Pharmacy, please accept certificate. Just 1 second. So, ma'am, please accept this certificate of appreciation from Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy and Gujarat Technological University as a token of our gratitude and recognition of your invaluable contribution. Please
Thank
accept
you so
this
much.
certificate. Yes, thank you, ma'am. And finally, I request all audience kindly please turn on your camera. We'll take some screenshot. All the audience kindly please turn on your camera. So more than 350 continuously participants are listening to ma'am. So I believe they are really interested to explore this AI. I believe it is the future. People are not yet explored actually. That's why people are fearing also whether they have to use it or not. So in my case, I can say definitely we have to learn, we have to explore it because if we are not using it, maybe we'll be in behind. Okay, with this note, thank you again, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and to deliver this insightful session. And I believe it's really a very important session out of these 6 days. Thank you again
You.
for
Yeah,
joining us, ma'am.
wonderful seeing all of you. I really look forward to seeing you on the 3-day workshop and also on some of the future programs. So bye. Have a great day.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Here, I'm going to share the feedback form in the chat box. Just hold 1 second. So feedback form is there already in the chat box. Kindly you can fill it and give us your valuable feedback. Thank you everyone for joining us. Tomorrow we're going to have one session by 10:30 or 10:45 because Dr. Kamal Dua is going to join from Australia. Okay, so that will be a very, very insightful session. You might be knowing Dr. Kamal Dua is having age index is more than 70. 70 age index and having a very good reputation in research. So I believe if you are want to explore more about manuscript drafting, you should not miss tomorrow's session from Dr. Kamal Dua. So see you tomorrow by 10 o'clock. So maybe we will discuss some matters initially for half an hour. Then as soon as Sir will join, then we're going to start the last day of the session. With this, I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everyone.